We're live, we're here, Friday. This is gonna be a fun one. We're gonna talk about pressure washing today. Tommy's here, who's now head of product development at OG, has a lot to do, or all to do, with the transition of randomness on our pressure washing section on the site to some structure. So we're gonna take you through that structure. We'll answer questions if you have any. We're gonna take you through, I think normally I like to go top down, but I think for this it makes sense to go bottom up. So we'll start at the entry-level solutions, and we'll talk about the difference between a solution, a package, and a individual, like kits, and then individual parts. And that's the hierarchy that we're working on building out for all things, whether it's Milwaukee tools or garage cabinets or audio equipment. We start at solution, which would be everything just done, complete, simple. The problem with solutions, for a lot of people, it scares them away because it has everything. And we don't generally give you too many options when you do the solution, just to keep it simple. And then Tommy set it up to where it should make a lot of sense. Like if you wanted to buy like a pressure washer, just a mount kit, you could very easily do that, or a mounting package. So let's start with the Karcher. I'm going to do a little storytelling here as we go through this. So we'll start with the pressure washer, I think, and then we'll show you the. I guess what we should probably do is let's do pressure washers first, and then we'll get into accessories, portable versus wall mount, and we'll kind of talk about that. So Karcher K1700, they make this in a cube, which we have discontinued for us, and then a cart model. Then the large reason for that is because of this guy. It really wouldn't make sense. It's like a couple dollars difference between this that does darn near 2 gallons a minute versus this that does 1.4 gallons per minute. So it really doesn't make sense price-wise to have the cube in the store anymore. But this is a nice machine. I mean, warranty on this is unparalleled. 3 years, no questions asked. They'll send you freaking 15 of them. They've made the decision to just don't even ask any questions. Just ship you a new one. You're not supposed to be a professional in using these things, but there's an 800 number in the box, or you hit up support. Support connects you with their, the direct number, and we don't even have anything to do with it. Just ship you a new one.
And we honestly don't get that many issues with that machine.
These things are pretty bulletproof.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So this has a goofy soap dispenser, a bunch of goofy crap in here. You're just gonna punt all of that.
The hose especially is not good.
So this thing in the box, comes with a gun, a wand, a hose, a foam cannon, a soap dispenser, all the junk. You're gonna just toss all of that stuff. I would highly recommend. It was $190, $189 for this thing. If you're gonna buy this, you're really just buying it for the warranty. You're going to get it 1.4 gallons per minute out of it at around 1,000 psi. You're probably going to get a couple of years out of it. And it's a throwaway. If you're so inclined, you could if it's under 3 years, you can call them up and get a new one. I don't think it's the right thing to do if you're a professional. You're using this, but there's not really much we can do about that, not much they can do about it. So the Karcher machine is our entry level. This was the big discovery when I did the pressure washing project, that I didn't think that I would have any of these. I thought I would only have this. This would be it. I never thought that I would have an assortment of pressure washers. The big epiphany in all of that testing, I've tested, 90 or so pressure washers?
More than that,
So when at the time, I think we did 75 or 80 all at once, in a 2 or 3 month period in the winter, freezing my butt off outside. But the test, just in my nightmares at 3 a.m. waking up, I realized that there's a progression to this. And so I am not buying this now in my life, but I would have bought this at some point in my life. And I do think that having this is better than going without for years and using a garden hose only. So I would rather have this, especially with our ability to add accessories and make it function really well, than what I did in my life. I just waited for this. I got this when I was 32 or something like that, 31 or 32. And so I waited and waited and waited, and then I bought this. Of course, the big risk for me with this is no one really knew. I didn't know if it was any good. It wasn't a real, no one was buying these things. So entry-level solution, you can buy this as a portable solution only.
Yes.
So portable meaning that you're going to roll around in the cart. Portable solution would not include a hose reel.
Nope.
So you would have an inlet hose like this. So you'd have an inlet hose, you'd have an outlet hose, or a pressure washer hose, 50 foot. We always do 50 foot and 50 feet in all of our packages. If you wanted something different, you could hit us up and we can do something different.
Yeah, 50 is as short as you want to go to get around your car. Otherwise, you have to like move the pressure washer, and it's annoying. So.
Yeah, 25 foot hose is no good. Even 35 is a little too short. So 50 feet is the hose that we provide, and all of our packages include the Gates OG hose, which I think it's my favorite hose, so we made the choice to make the transition, especially when Cobra Jet hoses were extremely hard to get. And then you would have your choice of, so you don't have a choice of type of hose, you do have a choice of length of inlet hose, but the outlet hose is 50 feet, and then we'll dig into this here in a minute, but then you have your choice of basic, ultimate, or advanced in all of your portable packages. So Karcher stays in the store. We've been kind of torn on it. We do sell quite a few of them. It is, what is the retail on the VE52? I think it's 230 or something like that.
Yeah, it's around there.
Yeah, so this is 189. Actually, I have it up right here, 230. So you're talking a $50 difference, which when you're in this price point, $50 is 25 or 30% difference. So it can be pretty significant. So the VE52 Active, this is the same as the Simonize in Canada. This is made by our friends at Active up in James and his team, Jude and the team up in Canada. They have been contract manufacturing all kinds of things that you in your household name stuff. They patented the quad or the Quinn, Quinn plunger or whatever you want to say. It's 5 plunger system. Most of these are what's called a radial axial pump. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we get into the AR here in a second. But a radial axial pump, think about it this way: there's a plate, and then generally there's 3 plungers, and that plate wobbles back and forth. As the plate wobbles, it pushes the plungers in and out. There's like a spring around the plunger, and that's what creates the pressure. It pressurizes the head of the pump and essentially squeezes the water out. A radial axial pump is, I thought about this the other day, I don't know if you watched the video when I was doing the Kranzle. It's kind of like a 911 in that a rear engine car is inferior.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So radial axial is technically speaking inferior to triplex, which is a crankshaft driven type pump. It's an inferior design as far as longevity goes, generally output, but it's much more efficient from an electric motor perspective, and it is easier to maintain, easier to make it. I believe it's much easier to make a sealed pump. And it's much cheaper to make a sealed pump. And so all of the Greenworks, all the Ryobis, all the Karchers, all the cheapies, take your pick, they're all 3-plungered radial axial. Where this is the same level of cheapness as far as the components, the way the engine sounds, the electric motor, but this is using 5 plungers, which gives it Kranzle AR-like performance, professional performance, in a cheap pump with a 2-year warranty.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, is the longevity. That's why that's so cheap, is because it just doesn't last as long.
Yeah, I mean, my expectation on this $230 thing, so I'm paying $50 more for a supercharged, same engine. It's the same Civic EX engine here.
Supercharged Civic.
But supercharger, right? Think of it that way. And so this sucker gets like 1.8 gallons a minute. Versus 1.4. Doesn't seem like a lot, but in person, that 0.4 of a gallon per minute is sizable, substantial. So what you do with this is you hide it around the corner, and you don't hear the goofy whine that these things have. The reason why we carry these two versus, I don't know, we could carry a Greenworks if we wanted to. I didn't think I'd be able to do a Karcher, but we talked them into it. Generally, these are only sold to like big box stores. These two are made in a different place than all the others.
You can tell. Definitely.
These are sort of bespoke versus just the catalog order item. So the Sunjos, the Ryobis, the Greenworks,
AR, like
the cheap ARs, like the entry-level ARs, they're all made in like one of 2 places. These guys have some patents and some proprietary tech that makes them more desirable for us, and why they made the cut on the entry level. This one here, I tested there's a 16, 17, 19, and 20.
Yep.
I think it's, or maybe it's 15. I think it's 16, 17,
yep.
19. This one tested the best. This one made the least weird noise. The 19 and 2000 versions like had lots of pressure but not much output, even when we adjusted the orifice nozzle. And so the reason why we're doing these is they're cut from a different cloth. You know, they're made in a different place, and you could tell. You know, when we were playing, you can hear it just audibly. The you know, the frequency of what they sound like.
Yep.
They sound very, very different.
Yeah.
This one doesn't have the annoying
shriek,
like
kinda,
shriek at the end of it. This one does, but you just, like I said, hide the sucker around the corner because you wouldn't know. You really wouldn't know the difference between this and this for for $1,200-$1,300. So then from here, now we have something that I've been pining for and something I've been begging for years and years and years. And I'll just pull it out. I was looking for something in the middle, you know, some sort of entry level. I guess it's not entry level anymore, but mid-level pressure washer.
Yeah.
These just started shipping. We just shipped out another.
All of them. Yeah.
Another, you know, so we've shipped what, 500 in the last couple of days.
I think it's closer to 7. Yeah,
Gotcha.
closer to 700. Yeah.
So we've shipped out 700 of these puppies. I hope that they work.
Yeah. No, they
this
should,
is round 1, batch 1,
Yep.
early order 1. What happened with us, and I got real mad at Active. They cleared customs before in Canada before it cleared customs in the U.S.
Yep.
They set a target to ship. That target to ship was like a week before ours showed up because it was sitting in customs,
Yep.
and they just looked like frickin' idiots.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure I lost about $300,000 worth of pressure washer sales. We'll figure that out on the back end. But this guy here, and then we had the whole snafu where my gauge was broken.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
the conspiracies that I did that on purpose to try to sell them. I mean, the interesting thing is my placebo effect.
Well, none of us noticed. Like Manny, myself, you, like we know.
Yeah, I mean,
noticed.
at 500 psi at 2.4 gallons a minute or whatever the heck we got out of it.
Yeah.
The lower pressure, was the the placebo. Like maybe we don't even need 1,000 psi.
Exactly.
I've always told myself that was the number, which I made up, by the way. I made up all this crap. So this was a partnership between Tommy and our team here. They had much more to do with it than I did, and they would share it with me, and I'd say, no, that's stupid or that's good. But the design, the engineering team in China, in Canada, and here, this is a sort of a joint project where we wanted to come up with something that was built still to a price point, a reasonable price point. Our target was $300 to $400, and we wanted to take this performance of this and get us longevity. So we wanted to get longevity. It's still a sealed pump. It's not a serviceable pump, but we wanted something that you would get several years, 2, 3, 4 years out of it if you're using it, like most of us do. Get rid of the plastic, plastic garden hose fitting. Yeah. Those break often. The inlets on these are plastic, which is a terrible design. So get rid of that. Have metal fittings. You can see the pump head is very similar to. We'll pull out the Kranzle here in a second. Super compact, nice lightweight, easily shelf mountable. These all have something in common. They all have a pressure switch, which was not a thing in the beginning. Most pressure washers would just run, rather than shut off. And so $350 without tools. We also wanted to make sure that they offered it tool only, and then they still have to provide a tooled version. But the tool only is the way to go, because you don't want the freaking gun and wand and crap that comes in these boxes. You're gonna throw it away.
Yeah. We have to stop selling the tool only for a little bit. There's like some regulation where they have to make so many with accessories compared to tool only. So for the rest of this year, we can't sell the tool only anymore. But starting again,
is it $30 more for those stupid tools or something?
Yeah, I think so. Or $20 more. I can't remember.
So you're gonna, in order for us to do that, there are rules. For example, one of the reasons that none of these come with a short gun, they all come with a gun like this. It has to be a certain length to meet U.S. regulations. It's freaking stupid. So like to put a MTM gun, it's not illegal for us to do it as an accessory, but it's illegal for them to import it into the US without having a gun option. And then there's a certain percentage of pressure washers that they'd have to sell. A large percentage has to come with accessories in order for them to get around the rules.
Exactly.
And so like most of the 630 TSSs, people are idiots. First of all, most buy the hot version, which is stupid. And then most buy it with accessories, which is also dumb. You don't want that crap because the hose and gun and wand that come with that is junk. But there's a reason why this is like this because of of regulations. So this guy, we'll talk about accessories in a minute, but you run a 4.0 nozzle. I mean, there's still some things on it, like the cheap Chinese, GFCI. There were choices that we made. So, like for example, a Kranzle is not built to a price point; it's built to what it needs to be, and then they figure out what the price is. Same thing with like our OG spec gun. We built it to what it needed to be, not not to a price point. This is built as a mid-tier option with price point in mind to get us more longevity, get us Kranzle-like performance, AR-like performance, AR professional-like performance, out of a little Chinese plastic box. And I think it looks awesome. I think it's the best looking pressure washer.
I love how small it is.
It's nice and compact. It's lightweight. I don't know that lightweight is a good thing, but it's lightweight. The byproduct is it's lightweight. It still has the squeal, when you pull the trigger. That has to do with how the seal design of the pump head works. But no more plastic fittings. Much more robust. Have they decided what the warranty looks like on this thing yet?
I actually don't know. I'm pretty sure it's 2 years.
Yeah,
I think it's the same 2 years, but it's designed to last about double as long as the VE52.
And these are 330.
330 for tool only, 350 for accessories.
But what you're telling me is they're going to have to buy 350
for now,
for the rest of the year or so.
Yep.
So I guess what we'll probably do is we'll have allotments of tool only. Like specials that we'll have to run. Because what was it? Probably 3 to 1, 4 to 1.
I don't know the exact ratio, but that's probably about right.
Yeah. So, it comes with a crappy gun, crappy wand, crappy hose, crappy. These are just things like they just have to do it. There's just otherwise we wouldn't do it at all.
Exactly.
So
one thing I also wanted to say too, difference between V52 and this one is the relationship between the inlet and outlet. So like a lot of people like to wall mount their pressure washers.
Yeah.
And with the V52, it's very difficult to do because the inlet and outlet are on the front and the back. And so that was one of the design decisions we made sure we wanted was the relationship to be 90 degrees. So wall mounting is a lot easier.
So this isn't our machine, but we've had a lot of say in how this machine created.
Oh yeah, we had feedback. Yeah.
I had no say in either of these. We're just looking for, and this is where I think our evolution is headed toward either partnering with manufacturers and help them figure out what the world needs, or make my own stuff, like with deionization and stuff like that. Yeah. So from here, you would probably go here,
Comet,
which, so Comet.
Should we open this up so they can see what it looks like? Or you want to just talk about it?
I don't want to waste the box.
Okay.
Because I don't recommend the Comet. I never really have.
Yeah.
The Comet, the one use case is where you absolutely want to wall mount it. You don't have any mechanical skills. You don't have anybody that that you can hire. You have a hose bib somewhere nearby, and you're going to just connect it up. Just because you put 2 screws in the wall, 2 tap cons on a concrete wall, or 2 lags on the wall, and you've got a mounted pressure washer with a hose reel with similar performance. It does like 1.82 gallons a minute or something like that, depending on which one you get. If you swap out the crappy gun, actually the gun in that is probably the best gun of any of these that from the factory.
Yeah, it might be.
The Kranzle is the best quality, but not quite as useful, especially for washing cars anyway.
Yeah.
The Kranzle is a great gun for cleaning buildings and floors and stuff like that. But it has a decent gun, a decent hose. It has the best factory hose, outside of this one.
Yep.
Because I think it's a 75-foot hose that comes on it. So it's a really simple solution. You can mount on the wall. It's turnkey.
15 amp too, that's kind of a big one too.
And it will operate very easily, foam cannon and all, on a 15 amp circuit with no issues. 4.0 nozzle. You're getting the same output as a Kranzle, a little less than an AR630. You're going to get the same output as these. It is better quality, I think, than this, but just slightly. Yeah. So it is serviceable, right? So you can change the oil, you can change the
valves and seals.
Yeah, the valves and seals and check valve. The check valves, all of that stuff are replaceable, and so it's a serviceable machine. But it will need much more service, per our experience, than the AR or the Kranzle.
And it's a little more difficult to service too. Like with the Kranzles and the AR, like there's a drain spot.
Yeah.
These don't have that. You have to pull the pump head and oil just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's a little more messy.
And you have to take it all apart. You have to take the plastic shroud off. You have to take it off the wall. But it is a serviceable machine, and it's what are they? $700 now. Let's see.
Less than that. I think there's six. I think they're in this.
$650. Yeah. So $650. Again, the use case on the 1700, the Comet 1700 is static 1700 is what they call it, is just wall mountable simplicity. Otherwise, buy this. If you're in that $700 price range, buy the AR630. I'm telling you. I don't like the AR630 personally. I wouldn't buy it. I did buy it. Lots of people prefer it.
It's my favorite one.
I don't like how it sounds. I don't like how it turns off and on. I don't like how it, I don't like how it has to have 20 amps. There's no way around it, but this is a much better built machine than that one is.
Definitely.
Radial axial, just like the others. So then you go to AR630. This is how it comes in a box. It's double box. I'm going to leave it in here. I think you guys get the gist here. You can check it out on the site. So here's where the AR630 comes in. AR has a bunch of them. They have a bunch of professional ones. I've tried all of them. In fact, I bought all of them at one point. The 613. All these other retailers are always searching. They're trying to find one. Here's the thing. They don't know anything about them. Most of the retailers don't even know what they're selling. They don't have a clue. They're just trying to capture a sale. No one knew anything about guns and wands and fittings and foam cannons. I frickin' made all that up. None of these companies wanted us using quick disconnects because they didn't think that they thought they were problematic with cavitation and warranty issues and stuff like that. In fact, I had many battles with Kranzle and AR over the years of them not wanting to warranty things because of quick disconnects. So the AR630 is, I think, the best machine in the AR line. Samit and the guys at AR came out with another one, which competes with the 1622. But I'm going to tell you in a minute here, the 1622, never buy that. I'll tell you the one use case where it makes sense to buy the 1622. But so they have a 1622 equivalent, which is weenie. I decided not to carry it.
It is really quiet though. Manny has it, so that's one benefit. Is it's probably the quietest pressure washer.
Yeah, it's because it doesn't freaking do anything. It's just peeing water out the nozzle. So buy this. It's freaking way better. It doesn't provide enough water. Doesn't provide enough flow. Same thing with the 1622. And so the 630 is a beast. The 630 is a triplex pump. It's a triplex design, which is old school. It's an old school. Think of it like a camshaft and valves, right? So there's a shaft that runs straight, through the machine from the electric motor, and it has a camshaft that essentially makes the plungers go in and out. It has 3 plungers. The pump head is a little longer than a radial axial pump head. Serviceability is a little bit more difficult, but still very doable. You can change the oil, you can change the seals, you can change the check valves, you can do all of that stuff on the AR just like you could on a Kranzle. This one is 19 amp, is what it's going to draw, so it has to have even a standalone 20 amp is a little dicey with a foam cannon. I think we draw like 18 and change from it with the foam cannon and a proper 1.25 orifice. But this has the most output. It does 2.2 to 2.3 gallons per minute. It's $720 or something like that. So price point, it's $400 less than a Kranzle, $735 for the 630. Now, when I got this, they were only selling it with accessories. They were only selling the hot version. That's what everybody was selling. And the hot version is like $100 more. This is rated up to 145 degrees. unless you have a boiler or you have some old school, like you're up north and you have like an old school like boiling water heater, and it's within a few feet of your pressure washer, you're not getting that kind of temp. Most water heaters are set to 120, 125, maybe 135 degrees, but it's going to run through PEX, or it's going to run through PVC or PVC or something through the house. So, you're going to get temperatures in the low hundreds. All of these are just fine with that. If you had some sort of boiler, external boiler or water heater, or you had a tankless heater that was really close and you were just running it at 185 degrees, you might have issues with seals long term. But pretty much all these pressure washers are good 130, 140, 145, 150 degrees. So having the hot version with a slightly different seals and check valves is not necessary. So you're wasting money. You're wasting $100. I'm all for buying the best, but it's identical. It's the same pump with different, with a different, version of the Viton seals that are higher heat temperature rated. But the pump head is the same, the performance is the same, the pressure output is the same, the GPM is the same, the weight is the same. It just has different, different seals, and I believe maybe metal check valves instead of plastic. So the 630 TSS accessory list is the way to go. You save yourself, a couple $100, and you get a lighter weight machine. Also, better odds of us getting it to you without having damage, because the accessories aren't just jammed in the box like they normally are. And the 630 is a really popular thing. I think of the 630, it's like a Camaro. It's an LS V8 Camaro. But it's like a ZR1 Camaro. It's a nice car. It's a nice, equivalent. It's a nice pressure washer. But it's not a Porsche. No. Porsche underperforms a Camaro in a straight line. It might even not go around the track as fast. Sure. It also has an inferior, engineering design in that it's a radial axial pump. But I'm telling you, I had the AR in my frickin' Harbor Hills house, and I don't like it. And I put it in there because I'm like, well, maybe I need some longer term experience with it. I've always not liked it just on short term use. We carry it because it makes sense. It's $400 less than a Kranzle, and it performs better. And will last just as long, maybe even longer. So, you can tell me I'm crazy. It sounds weird and operates a little weird. I can't really quantify that. Most of the people that knock on Kranzles and harp on this because they're too poor to buy a Kranzle and they don't want to own up to it. And that's just the fact. It's just the truth. And they hate on. You see them in the Facebook group hating. Well, the AR is so much better. No, you just didn't have the $400 to get it. There's a small percentage that prefer it. There's a small percentage of Tommies that are misguided. That like it. If I hated it, I wouldn't carry it.
Fair.
There's a definite case for it. It's $400. It's almost half the price, and it performs better. So you can tell me I'm nuts and buy it, but I'm still frickin' buying a Kranzle.
Well, it's the I don't know what the right word is, but it's the things that you can't measure. Where the Kranzle beats it out. The
sound. Just the way it feels.
This vibrates a lot more than the Kranzle does.
That's one of the things that really bothered me. I got it on the wall, and it's because of its design, it's not as balanced.
Correct.
It's kind of like using a Rupes polisher versus some knockoff.
Max Shine.
Like a Max Shine is all wobbly, and because they can't replicate the balance. The balance is the secret sauce. They can try to copy it. This is not a Max Shine. This is an Italian-made, bespoke, built to their spec. I believe most of the parts are, sourced and built in Italy. There's some, Chinese parts on all of this, I'm sure. But that's another thing, is little Italian jank versus German precise. So go figure. But less, and we sold a lot less of these, but less potential for finicky issues on this. I would say for whatever reason, those seem to be just, like in terms of support tickets we get less with the AR than the Kranzles for whatever reason. Less. It's it's an older, tried and true design. I think the radial axial pump has a lot to do with that. The capacitance needed, the size of the electric motor needed versus. I'm pretty sure that the electric motor, just looking at inspecting, I haven't done a lot of research, but the capacitors in the radial axials are much bigger than they are in the main capacitor than it is in the triplex pump. I think if I were guessing, just knowing what I know about pressure washers, the triplex is relying much more on the pump than the electric motor and the electronics.
Probably.
So the pump, the actual physical part of the pump is the more important part, whereas on a radial axial, I think the pump and the pump part and the electric motor part are sort of 50-50,
Sure.
where it's not as relied upon on a radial axial. I might be making that up, but. So this is something I'm telling you right now. We sell these. We have these in the store. There's only one place. This is the K1622 8TS. There's only one reason you would buy this, and it's because you're a mobile detailer and you have a small and not very powerful generator. Otherwise, you're an idiot.
And even then, I would almost recommend the actives maybe just buy a bunch of actives if you're mobile detailing because it's so lightweight.
So here's how this happened, and none of these retailers know this. They're all idiots selling this thing. They're only just trying to get money from you. In 2016, I got, it was like probably February of 2016, I got the garage condo, or like the 1,200 square foot garage next to Raymond James. I got that in early 2016, and there was a spot on the wall there where I wanted to put. Don't do it. We're live, Mike. He's going to come in here and start opening drawers.
Start grinding on the device.
I saw him. He was coming for the drawers. He was going to start fishing around.
I was going to get the cleaning. Let me get the cleaning. No. One thing, I promise. There we go. That's it. Carry on.
So there was a spot on the wall right next to the office there, and I'm like, I could just see it. I wanted a 1622. This was before the TS, which is even worse than this one. There's the 1622, and I thought I could just tear apart 1122, which is not easy to do. It's a freaking
There's a little bit,
Like Tony did one, my friend Tony Palomo did one, but he's, he's an engineer type, and so it's not an easy thing to tear this thing apart and mount it. So I was either going to tear apart my old 1122, or I was going to just get the 1622 and deal with the idiosyncrasies of it. But I'd envisioned having a shelf, a stainless shelf, and I just found our friends in the Carolinas who make the stainless shelves for us, and I thought I could have them make me a shelf. And then I believe it was November of 15 is when I found Cox hose reels running up and down Apex. So I knew. Actually, no, I didn't find them until 2016, November 2016, because I was going to use the horrible MTM reel that all the other douchebags are selling. It's the worst reel ever.
That's not very good.
Even MTM tells people not to buy that darn reel. They deny it, but even if they, if you asked Mike or some of the other guys Rob used to work for them, they would say don't buy that reel. I was in search for reels, so I was buying Reelcraft. I think I bought like 6 or 7 different reels. I had them all laying around in the garage there. My Jenny compressor had come at that time, and I was kind of building out that condo. I actually never got it done, but sometime, I forget exactly when, I want to say it was December of 16, I flew to, they wanted me to go to Germany, but I didn't want to do that. And so the Ludwig Kranzle just happened to be coming to New York. And so I met with Jeff, Angela. So Jeff was retiring, Angela was taking over for Kranzle USA, and Uwe, I forget what Uwe's last name is, but he was head of product development at Kranzle Germany, and Ludwig Kranzle, who's the grandson of the founder, and he's the one that I guess owns and runs the company. And so we sat down, and we had sold probably 2,000 or 3,000 of these things. Anyway, my timeline doesn't matter. My timeline's off here. Anyway, we sat down, and they said, well, what do you want? What if you could have anything, what would you want? I said, I want the 1622 with more flow, and I want a pressure switch on it, because the original 1622 didn't turn off when you release the switch. The 1622 only does 1.4, maybe 1.5 gallons a minute, so it does the output of this at around 1,000 psi. It's designed and rated to do 1,600 psi, which it doesn't touch. It's not even close.
It can't,
So even if you tune it for pressure, it's still not breaking 1,200 psi at the nozzle head. And I said, I really want to be able to take and put that on a shelf, and I want to be able to then use a hose reel, and then I have a bunch of people that would want to kind of carry it around. And so they came back several months later, and that's when the 1322 existed. Basically, I told them I want this, but I want it to look like this. And so they came out with it, and then the Kranzle people were gearing up to sell it to everybody. I said, what are you doing? This is my idea. Let me sell it. And so then they made the decision to let me sell exclusively, and then this exists because of all the other douchebags copying that don't know anything about pressure washers, haven't done any of this stuff. They made it to appease the other dealers, and they don't even know that this thing's terrible. It's great quality, great performance, will last forever, but it doesn't frickin' work well. It's not good for what we want to do with it. I sell it. We sell it for our mobile detail people. Lots of people mistakenly buy it. 20% of them send it back. And they realize, well, maybe I should listen to Matt more often. It does 1.5 gallons a minute, and it's $100 more than a K1322.
Yeah, well, because everyone sells it, so that comes even from us. It'll come with a hose and
you gotta have hose, gun, wand, you know, sprayer, the whole package, which you don't want. You don't want any of that crap. You're never gonna use it.
The hose is decent. It's just not as good as the.
Yeah, it's just a big, heavy, bulky. You know, it's a black hose.
Yeah, it's like that.
Stiff black. You know, it's a single wire hose, but it's a stiff black, you know, mess. It's just not a great hose. So do not buy. I'm telling you. Actually, I love it when you buy it because I make a bunch of money on it. I make more money on this than the 1322.
Don't buy this.
Do not buy this unless you have a small generator and you just have to, and you're working off a tank. This will all these will self-prime. They'll pull from the tank without a pump. But only buy this if you're mobile with a tank and a baby generator. Otherwise, you're an idiot. Don't do it. It's dumb. It makes no sense. You're paying more money for something that doesn't work as well. So the 1322, which
we're out of stock again.
We don't have one.
Sold out so quickly.
We don't have one, which it really hacks me off because Kranzle's making these, and they should be making all 1322s until I have too much stock, but I get no credit for making this happen here in the U.S. for this stuff. But the 1322 is 100% the way to go. So the 1322 and 1122 are the same machine. I'm not 100% sure why. The 1322 is rated at 1,300 psi at 2.1 gallons per minute. This is rated at 1,400 psi at 2.1 gallons per minute. They're the same exact thing. It's just that I guess it's possible that I think it's something to do with the windings and the capacitor and the room that we have to put it in the chassis of the 1322, which makes them rated a little less, but they perform identically. The 1122 is the portable version, and the 1322 is the wall mount, or could still be portable, but you'd have to carry it.
It's heavy.
60 pounds. The Kranzle is a radial axial pump, 3-plunger design, so original design, but they've been perfecting this for, I don't know how long they've been, 90 years or something, 80 years, something like that. So these guys, it's I think the industry standard. These are flawed because it's a radial axial, not a triplex pump. But I make the analogy, it's like the Porsche pressure washers. They just have it nailed. They have it licked.
They've been refining it for that long.
Still doesn't mean it's not going to have problems. I mean, that's the thing you've got to keep in mind. I've been harping on this for years. When you get into professional grade, they're expecting you to be a professional. None of us are. Very few of us are. And even if you're a detailer, you're not a professional pressure wash person.
Yeah,
right?
It's different. Yeah.
And so just because you spend a lot of money doesn't mean you get perfection. So stop frickin' complaining about this stuff. Spending a lot of money means that you have the potential to have a really great, piece of equipment, but you got to work for it. Yeah. You've got to work with leaks. You've got to work with maintenance, changing oil. You got to work with this. These guys, you don't. They're sealed. You can't do anything with it.
Yeah, and they'll blow up eventually.
They're sealed. It's going to blow up. It's designed to fail. These are built to a price point, built to a time frame. They're built to assume that most people are never going to call them on their warranty, and so you want to make sure that you understand that when you're getting into this. When you get into professional grade, act like a frickin' professional. Don't act entitled like a baby, like we owe you something. I'm getting you there, for gosh sakes. Yeah. No, there wasn't a picture, there wasn't a video, there wasn't a quick disconnect to be found within 100 miles of this thing when I started doing this. And I thought that the world should want this. I didn't know that the world would actually believe me. I didn't think anybody would. I thought I was the only idiot who would pay $1,800 for a pressure washer. Yeah. But this is a much better experience. So you have portable or the wall mount version. But shoot, the one in Helen, the frickin' GFCI plug blew up when somebody's there. It's part of the game. It's part of professional grade. And so act like a professional. When you buy a professional product, you're going to have to work for it. You're going to have leaks. You're going to have O-rings fail. You're going to have things like that you have to fix. But the beauty of this is that you can fix this. And if you do maintain it, you're 20, there's Kranzles out there 25 years old still rolling.
Definitely.
People using it in a commercial environment, all the time. So the Kranzle 1122, 1322 is that's where my money is. That's what I'm buying. I had an AR for a short period of time in my garage just to see if I could stomach it. Went back to 1322. I have a 1322 at my house. I have a 1322 in Helen. I'll have a KWS 700 here, which is the monster. Yeah. The KWS 700 is the last machine. It's $3,600. That one needs 23 amps, so you need a 30 amp service. That one will do 3.3. I think we measured about 3 gallons a minute at around 1100 psi. It's right at the edge of too much. I mean, you need to be careful with that. It'll stand you up. Yeah. But that's a really loud machine. It doesn't turn off when you release the trigger. It runs for 30 seconds. It's a 20 millimeter pump, where all these are 12 millimeter pumps. So it's a much smaller. When I say 12 millimeters, the size of the plunger. So the plungers are 20 millimeters instead of 12. So it, not only has a much bigger electric motor, but it has a bigger head, pump head, wobble plate, all of that. It weighs 180 pounds, or this weighs 75 pounds. So you're talking about a substantial difference. Wall mountable only, you really can't take it or move it around.
No, good luck.
But it's, if you're a professional detailer and you don't have one of those, I'd say you better start working toward it.
Yeah,
It would make your job so much more efficient. I just can't imagine all you guys that are detailing professionally and you're not working towards getting one of those in your shop, working towards a shop. If you're mobile, clearly you're not going to be able to use that. You want to be working towards a 1322 with a really robust. You need like a 5,000 watt generator.
Yeah, it needs to be really beefy, because when you first kick on the gun with the start-stop system,
it's the inrush current. Inrush current is the issue, and it draws 17 and a half or almost 18 amps with the foam cannon, even though they're 15 amp rated. So the next logical thing we'd want to discuss would be guns and wands. So the gun and wand, I think, is the differentiator here. When I started this game, I was using this. So I had this pressure washer, and if you didn't watch it, go back and watch the sort of the video where I break out the 1122 again on the M2 last week. We put that video up. In the old days, when I first got this, this doesn't look really any different, other than this is gray instead of black for some reason. But we had so much bulk. M22 fittings like this fitting here didn't exist.
Yeah, it was 2 pieces.
Yeah, I had, well, that was the evolution, the two-piece.
Really?
It was an
Oh,
evolution.
okay.
In the old days, I had to do all these adapters because I wanted a Mosmatic swivel. And the Mosmatic swivels at the time only had G-type threads. And so I had to adapt G-type to NPT and NPT to M22. And so I had to do like 3 or 4 different adapters. And so the bulk from the outlet, excluding this, the outlet to the gun was like 7 1/4 inches. And so the gun would have been sticking out, this far just to get a swivel. I was trying to get a swivel on this so that the hose wouldn't get all bound up, and I was always flipping my gun over. And when I was using a Mosmatic swivel, the other problem is just that swivel. The swivel alone was like $80 or $90 or something like that. Yeah. They're a lot cheaper now because they're more well known. But I'd bought a Mosmatic swivel, and I had all these brass and stainless parts. And in the beginning, stainless really wasn't a thing. No one really even had stainless. It was all brass. And so I would buy, I had this whole bucket filled with all these different quick disconnects, just trying to figure it out. So in the beginning, this gun wasn't the thing. I was just trying to get a foam cannon, because the whole reason I wanted the pressure washer was for a foam cannon. So I was trying to get a foam cannon on the gun. And at the time, this now has the quick disconnect style, but this had the same sort of thread that this had, only it was female. And so we had to, I had to figure out a way to adapt M22. Yeah. So I had to go M22, and then I had to put a twist and seal plug, so an adapter to neck it down to 1/4 inch, so then I could get a 1/4 inch quick disconnect on the end of this. It was a whole, actually no, I had to go 1/4 to M22 out of the foam cannon, and then you would put a quick disconnect on the foam cannon. And
1/4 inch to M22 with a plug on it. That's
correct,
what it was.
yeah. And so there's this big old thing sticking out of the foam cannon, and then you'd have this giant gun, and you'd have another brass quick disconnect on here, and it was a whole frickin' cluster. It was just a lot of work. Because when I bought this thing, I spent a lot of money on it. It was important to me. I wanted to break it down and clean it up. But imagine trying to wash your car with this.
I remember the videos way back when.
So you would foam cannon. So this wasn't terrible. You see the idiots with it, on a 40-inch wand, freaking morons on Instagram all the time. That's when you know that you do not want that person washing your car, because they have no idea. They don't know anything about life, let alone washing a car. So, but you should see, it just wants to tangle up because there's no, swivel. And so I'd be washing my car like this.
Try doing your wheels with that.
So you couldn't do the wheels. So I would get my garden hose out. So that's when I found the Ely. So I had the Ely hose, and then I had the Goodyear. Actually, it was Goodyear at the time. Now it's Continental Frontier.
They got bought out.
But it was a Goodyear hose, and so I would wash the car with this, and I would put the foam cannon on there. And the foam cannons were the original foam cannon, not the one we see now. So it was kind of clunky. It was all brass and kind of cheap. But there were no knockoffs. There was no Amazon version. There was only the $100 MTM. That was the only one. And then I would get the garden hose out with the little Ely, handle, the fancy Ely handle. So I would do the wheels first with the garden hose, and I'd have hoses everywhere. So I'd have this hose, I'd have an inlet hose, I'd have hoses all over the place. When I first did it, I only had a garden hose. So I had to hook the garden hose up to this. So I had to do the wheels, then I had to kink the hose, put the garden hose on, thread it on there, and so that was annoying. And then that's when I started chasing for, and found Gilmore quick disconnects for a garden hose. And then, eventually I found the MTM M407, which is the grandfather of this guy, which is the SG28. So the concept was I wanted to get rid of the garden hose. I wanted to get rid of all this bulk. I wanted to get rid of this. So even up until maybe a year and a half ago, we had to do an adapter for all of our pressure washers, for all of the portable pressure washers, we had to do an adapter, and even in order to even get this, connected. So the first MTM M407, we still didn't have a swivel, and so that's when, right around the same time I was looking for a short gun, I was looking for a swivel, and so that's when I had 7 inches of bulk. You had this 3/8 inch plug, you had a swivel, and then you had all the adapters to get it to neck down to whatever the heck this was, to M22, and so that was a whole mess. Today, we have now
that piece.
direct. Yeah, so we have direct M22 right to coupler, which didn't exist until about a year and a half ago.
And that's the special fancy one too.
Yeah, so this one is even further on our evolution, where I've got some prototypes, but I've had 4 or 5 iterations just to get the thread length correct and to get this to fit properly. So MTM M407 was the first gun. And then I discovered Mosmatic because I was looking for a wand holder for the wall mount thing, and so I found Mosmatic through Doltmeyer, which was a professional pressure washing supply company, and so I found Mosmatic, and Mosmatic, which is the purple one, they had a catalog item for a gun, a short gun. So I had the MTM M407, which is the old, crappy version of this, no swivel. The SG28, the blue one, hadn't even come out yet. That's the SGS28. So this was the catalog item. Now this is a partnership with Suttner. Suttner out of Germany, so people always think they have some sort of hack, like they figured out something. Mosmatic, they have this made for them by Suttner with the specific stuff internally.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the thing, this was a catalog item. There was no picture. So I called Jamie, who's now a good friend of mine. Jamie has helped us with a lot of different things. He's a brilliant human. So I got Jamie on the phone from Mosmatic, and I tried to convince him to let me become a dealer. And this is in late 2016 when I'm trying to launch this pressure washer. And I said, do you have one with a swivel built in? And he said, you don't want that. You don't want the swivel. I said, no, I want the swivel. He's like, no, because if the swivel breaks, then you got to throw the whole gun away, and it's not serviceable. No one in pressure washing does swivels internally in the gun. We don't bring that over here. And so I said, no, I need it. And so there was like one on the shelf in Switzerland. And so he brought it over. It cost me like, I don't know, $300 or $400 or something to pay, direct import duties and taxes and crazy shipping to get it here. And then I got it and fell in love. Now, the problem is they had one in the world. And now they had to make them. And I would get them like 8 at a time, 15 at a time, 20 at a time.
We sell that in an hour now.
Right, so we would sell them, so when I launched the pre-order in late January of 2017, that is the correct timeline. I think it was like January 26th or 28th or something like that. And I sold like 15 of them, and then the next month I sold like 20 of them. Those people didn't get their guns for like 3 or 4 months. We didn't have them. They didn't have them. They couldn't make them. And so I was struggling for at least a year and a half. We'd never have them. We'd always have back orders, and it was always the gun holding us up. And so it was me crying and yelling and screaming, complaining. I need these guns, the other issue was that CleanRight started offering them too, because people would ask CleanRight, and they sell them for basically cost plus 10% because they just tore everything out. And so then people were always trying to circumvent the system. So I'm like, why are they splitting up orders? Like, I should get all of them. You can't make enough for me. I'm the one who made this thing happen. They wouldn't give it to me. And so my friends at MTM, who they don't dislike each other, but they're in direct competition, right? And so MTM, I said the SG28 had come out, which was our entry-level gun. The SG28 is the non-swivel version of this gun. Plastic trigger, had a 3/8 inlet where we can do the same thing, where we put a plug on it, but it didn't have a swivel. And the MTM swivel was kind of junk, and it still kind of isn't great. I said, here's what I want. I want all stainless internals because this actually has brass internals, which we find doesn't really matter. You know, so I said, I want all stainless internals for no reason whatsoever other than I want it. So because I wanted this little thing to be stainless.
To match,
So I want all stainless internals. I want stainless screws. You know, so that was a big thing for me. I want stainless screws, but I just want the SG28 and I want a swivel built in. I want a built-in swivel like this. And I want a swivel where it's not, you know, external. And so they made it, and then they wanted me to commit. But this is still way better.
Yes, it is.
You know, now this was at the time was like 110 bucks, and this was like 80 bucks. I don't know what they are now, but maybe a little bit more. These prices have risen. But ball bearing trigger, that's what you hear. That detent.
It's so much better. Yeah.
Versus it's a plastic driven, like it's a little pistol, like there's a little needle in there that this pulls on, but the mechanism, the connection point is plastic, where this is metal inside. This is lighter weight, a little more compact, a little smaller. You can see that the size difference of the swivel is like 20% as good. But this, I wanted to be able to sell it, but I wasn't committing to it fully.
Yeah.
And so then, of course, what did they do? They took it everywhere. Adams and Esoteric and Auto Geek and took it everywhere. All these people, Griot's Garage, none of them knew anything about pressure wash. They didn't know what an orifice nozzle was. All they all did was went to obsessgarage.com and learned about orifice nozzles and learned about, you know, pressure washing and how it works. Because I didn't know any of this stuff. I'd just done it 4 or 5 years before everybody else did because I had to figure it out because I wanted mine to work. And selfishly, I was doing it for myself. I wasn't doing it for people. You know, I didn't know that we'd sell, you know, all this crap. So, you know, this gun came out, and then of course, all the retailers are saying, well, this is better than that because this has stainless internals. It's freaking not even close. It's not even in the same ballpark. Now, we sell this because it's good, it's cheap.
Yeah, it's a good entry level.
It's a good entry level, you know, so in all of our basic packages, we include the MTM SGS-28. The blue one, which was, you know, Rob's baby, you know, Rob and Mike's still there, Rob's not there anymore.
The 35 you're talking about?
The Aqualine.
Yeah, okay.
Which is a terrible gun.
It's not as good.
This is way lighter, way better, has better components. This is T304 stainless or 416L. You don't need 316. You don't even need 304. Brass is fine. Stainless is nice. Stainless is important, I think, on quick disconnects, but not on the internals of the gun. It really doesn't matter. Water's going through this so quickly. You generally drain it out at the end, so the only issue you could have is DI water if you let it sit in your gun, which no one's going to do. Guns don't really break that much. It's pretty uncommon.
Very, very
if
rare.
it does, it's because you're dropping it or doing something stupid. So the Aqualine, which is that hideous blue, they you know, brought over. It was a catalog item designed for like meat packing. I think 316 is better with bacteria and things like that.
Yeah,
or if they're running like salt or chlorine, you know, then 316 would be better if you're running that through some sort of injection system. But we're not doing that, so we don't need it. It's a bigger, heavier gun with the same crappy trigger and the same crappy swivel. And with 316, with a lot more money, you would buy this every time, 100% of the time. Or this. I would rather have this than an SG35, always. So the Aqualine is just a simple solution to Mosmatic, you know, protected me a lot more over the years than MTM has. So, you know, Mosmatic won't let anybody sell it. So that's the reason why the Aqualine has been popular. But it's just buying an Aqualine with a 1622, all these people are buying, it's the stupidest combination ever. You would never want to do that. It's dumb. So then, this is mine and Jamie's baby. You know, I would say we're 50-50 on this puppy. What I wanted to do was I wanted to get rid of this connection point here. I wanted to get rid of having to put a plug and having to assemble this. And I wanted to change the wand as well too. And so this gun, and I had to make some decisions. If we did all stainless internals, then this puppy would be like 350 or 400 bucks. And really there was no major benefit to it. And so I had to make some decisions on what to do. You know, we swapped all the guns for stainless screws, and then we removed the bulk by taking and integrating or machining a plug onto the swivel. So it's the same, best in class, best in world Mosmatic, 304 stainless swivel, same smooth action. There's no grinding like what you get with the this just has like it's just not as smooth. There's a bit of a mechanical grind to the swivel on this. Still functions well, but this is smooth as silk.
You notice it under pressure too. That will stay smooth, where this one will get
Tightens
a little
up
bit stiffer under
pressure. Yeah, it tightens up a bit.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I wanted. The second thing I wanted was all stainless internals, which I didn't get because it would have cost twice as much, and we hadn't have any problems with this. And then the other thing I wanted to do was develop fittings. So I wanted to develop 304 Swiss-made, non-Chinese made, much more precise. You can even feel it in the action, the ball bearing action, or when you pull back the couplers, the plugs are more precise. Everything about it is just a whole different level of precision. But they cost 6 to 7 times as much as the Chinese ones. So the MTM Chinese still needs to exist. It's still good. There's not really any reason to do brass anymore. The stainless ones have come down quite a bit in price from when we originally started doing them, and we've been able to kind of make different sizes, get the 15 millimeters and the 14 millimeters, because the 15 millimeter didn't exist in the beginning. So we always had to do all these adapters and stuff. But you can even hear the difference. This is the Chinese fitting.
I don't think we have an MTM one. You do the one.
The plug will be the same, yeah. So even just how this works, it's great. I mean, it works fine. This is a like a $6 fitting or a coupler. This is a $46 coupler, $50 coupler. So you're talking about a substantial difference in price, but
it is the best.
It's worth it to me. I mean, you're adding another like $150 to your system, to your package. These are the tricky part, the dicey part is these still fail.
Sure.
At a much lower rate than the Chinese ones. They last a lot longer, but we can't really quantify that. If you're a professional and you're beating it up all the time, it might last 3 months. It might last 3 years.
Well, I don't know if we've ever had one fail that short. Yeah, they're pretty robust.
But you're on your own. These are wear and tear. It's like buying Michelins. Michelins will last just as long as Falcons. But you're paying the extra money for the Michelin performance, the quality, the precision, the engineering, the quality of performance of the tire.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
So there's a substantial difference here, and so we came out with a whole suite of fittings, and so now our connection point looks like this, which is magical. So that's it. Perfection.
It's like what, maybe 1.5 inches, maybe?
Even less if you do a traditional hose, a traditional 3/8 inch hose. But now we have full fluid swiveling functionality. I did choose, this was another decision point, I did choose to leave this, because we could have done this G threads or equal length threads, but then it would have been a proprietary connection. And I wanted they will only make so many of these. I didn't want to have so many SKUs. And so I had them make this NPT, and so that's why you still see it, sticking out. And I was okay with that, because I wanted this 1/4 inch coupler, male coupler, and I wanted to be able to use it on any gun and not have it be proprietary. So you could buy one of these other guns and do Swiss fittings. I wanted to be able to do that, and I wanted to eliminate SKUs and not have too many. And so this is the new setup. This is, let's see, I probably got my Kranzle in 2011, so this is 11 years of chase to get to this point.
Yeah. The other thing too is maybe talk about the wand. That's probably for me even like the biggest difference.
Yeah. So basic, ultimate, which is this and the original wand, and advanced.
Well, other way around. Advanced is that one.
Advanced is this one too?
No. Advanced is this
right.
one. Yeah,
this is advanced. This is ultimate. I'm talking about the wand.
Oh yeah,
basic and advanced gets the original wand. So this is stupid. This was really dumb, but this is all that existed. So all that I've been doing over the years has just been a culmination of just putting together things that exist and then trying to make it work. So this is a 1/4 inch coupler, same thing we have on the outlet of the gun, and so the concept would be I wanted to be able to take, and this was a real frustration for me when people started trying to copy this one. I got really lucky on this. So at the same time I ordered this, I ordered a wand. Now, there are like 190 different combinations of, you can order this wand with G fittings, with, couplers, and you can order it in a bunch of different configurations with different size, 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, with this or without this. I just happened to configure and find the right SKU. These SKUs weren't anywhere. They weren't on CleanRight. They weren't anywhere. I found it on Doltmeyer. Actually, I bought this as an afterthought when I was getting the wand holder, because I was using some crappy MTM wand, some terrible wand. And so I threw this in the cart. It was a couple $100. I thought, well, maybe a 20-degree bend would work. And I didn't order the correct 1/4 inch. I just got lucky. I didn't purposely try to order it, because for years people would be ordering, they'd get like G threads or 1/8 inch, or they'd get it and then they'd email me, well, I bought this from whatever, CleanRight or somewhere else, and I didn't get the right threads, and they'd be asking me, and I would tell them to get frickin' bent, because I have the right one in my store, so you should buy it from me. I'm the one who frickin' figured this out. And so in order to make this work, what my dad came up with the formula. He's assembled tens of thousands of these, maybe even 100,000 of these. And so we'd put the 1/4 inch quick disconnect or plug on the end here to torque that properly. And then this little rubber thing we'd have to pull back. So he heats it up, puts soap on it, uses a little pick tool and pops it behind this. Then puts the coupler on and then pulls this thing back. Now this is kind of dumb.
Yeah. Well, I think that wand was designed to have a 1/4 inch nozzle threaded directly into it.
Correct.
It wasn't supposed to have.
But I didn't want that.
Yep.
I wanted to be able to break down and take the nozzle out and put it on the short gun.
Yep.
And I didn't want to have two nozzles, and so that's why I made this frickin' thing up. And then all these idiots copying they don't even know that. They just thought that this is the way it was. No idea.
It still is that way for everyone else too.
If you were going to do this, if you're going to copy, do it better. Figure out a better way to do it. And so I didn't have any frame of reference for this. I couldn't figure this out. Jamie from Osmatic sort of cued me into this concept. So this I wanted. This was my idea. I said, look, I want to get rid of the assembly part. This is a failure point because if you torque it really tight, it can crack the fitting. What this new, or the newer, the OG spec version is to have the coupler behind the nozzle, so then we could do the threaded screw-in nozzle. And then I can take this and go short gun or a long wand. I can do it both ways. Just listen to how freaking awesome that sounds. It's incredible. So now I can take this and I have my wheel system, right? And I have my ability to put my foam cannon in here as well. And then I can switch and go to a longer wand for rinsing. A lot of people don't even use a wand. They just use the short gun, but I prefer to have this so I can, hit the car from whatever truck or for whatever angle, and 20 inch with a 20-degree bend is the proper length. We do sell these for RVs and for decks and stuff. We do sell a 40 and a 60, I believe.
Yep.
So we did eventually come out with a longer version of this. But this is, again, 304 stainless with Swiss fittings, just a really remarkable little thing. And Jamie was trying to explain this and he had to draw it on paper. I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. He's like, no, we need to put the plug on the inlet to the nozzle, and then we can use the nozzle protector. So if you have smacked your fender, you're actually utilizing the nozzle protector instead of this terrible idea where this isn't doing squat. All it's doing is making it look pretty. Right? It's terribly dysfunctional. It's not this is certainly not functionally excellent, but it's what existed at the time. So we just made it up. And then it just makes me laugh that all these idiots don't even know that. It's a stupid thing to do. Why would you do that? It makes no sense. But the reason I did it was because I wanted to be able to take the nozzle off and then put it on the gun when I switched from wheels to cleaning the paint. And so you have, when you go to the site, when you go to our site, you have basic, which would be MTM,
FGS,
original foam cannon.
So
the original foam cannon to keep costs down. That's the only reason we're doing it. Original nozzles, right? The original little baby nozzles. It'll have brass QDs on the inlet. It will have stainless on the outlet side. We don't do brass anymore, really, on the outlet side, on the high pressure side. Again, you don't need stainless, but the brass turns green over time. So, on the garden hose sides, it really doesn't matter as much as on the outlet side, and keeps your cost down substantially. It includes the same hose and the same inlet hose. So we only do one type of hose here. And you'd be stupid to buy the gray hose. The only reason you buy the gray hose from MTM is because you want a gray, but it's a far inferior hose.
Yeah, I'd rather have, if you had a black and gray setup, like, I don't know, I still wouldn't choose a gray hose. This is so much better.
Yeah, it's so much, it's like, it's not even close. You know what I mean? Have the gray hose, it's a marking, and it gets all dirt because it's textured. It's not a smooth jacket. And then the next step up would be, basically the same thing, but you get the better foam cannon.
Yes.
You get the original Mosmatic, the original wand, same thing, still the original nozzles, stainless on the inlet.
The MTM fittings too on that.
And then, and then the Chinese MTM fittings. And then the ultimate package is the Swiss fittings and all the best stuff, set up with the OG spec gun. So I think what will evolve towards, there's another pressure washer hose that I have my eye on whenever the supply chain gets worked out here, where we may have some ridiculous hose that would include the ultimate package. But if you go to the site and you think about this, if you just want this and you want the full solution, you can click the solution. It's like $2,000 for the full solution. You could do the same thing. You could do the same thing with the 1322 if you didn't want the bulk. Still choose portable, wall-mounted. But solution includes everything. You don't have a choice. You just pick a color of your hose reel.
It's pressure washer with all the accessories.
Right. So everything, right? And the solutions are OG spec only, aren't they?
No, there's option. There's options.
So you have basic, advanced, ultimate on the solutions. So you have portable solutions, wall mount solutions. Right, and then you have accessory packages.
Yes, and there's portable and wall mount for those. So if you already have a pressure washer, but you want to upgrade all of your accessories, we offered those packages where you can use your pressure washer you have, and then. And
you have basic, advanced, ultimate, and you can pick your inlet hose size on the. I generally recommend, it just depends on what your hose bib is. 6.5 foot is always easier to manage, but if your hose bib's further away, then a 20-foot inlet hose would make more sense.
And most importantly, too, is the nozzle size. So, like all of the packages and kits we sell, we tell you, hey, if you have this pressure washer, you need this nozzle. And
so if you have a pressure washer that's different than one of these, you're not buying it for one of our packages. We have packages and kits for Ryobi, for Sunjo, for anything, and then we've tested pretty much all of them. And if we haven't tested it, we probably know what it needs. If you had some weird obscure thing that we haven't done, or something new just came out, Sunjo comes out with a new one every month, but they're all the same. It's all the same 3.0
Just a new model number.
3.0 nozzle always. So, we have in the product description, it tells you what nozzle you would need to select, what nozzle size you need to pick. And then, of course, you can buy everything a la carte, and there's individual parts and pieces. I would highly recommend, like if you have a Kranzle, that you buy another one of these, and you buy another one of these. Just have one of each. Spend an extra $100, get an extra coupler of each. Just to have, especially if you're a pro. If you're a DIY guy, you could just take this puppy, and just especially if you buy the Mosmatic version. If you buy the Chinese one, definitely buy. If you buy the MTMs, definitely buy a couple extras. Buy a couple extra garden hose fittings.
Even more important than that is O-rings.
We
get that all the time still.
And all of our packages, all of our kits, all of our solutions, we send an extra 3/8 O-ring and an extra 1/4-inch O-ring.
Correct.
Very rare for these O-rings to pop out, but very common for the O-rings to pop out of the MTM fittings because of the difference in tolerance from plug to coupler. The O-rings oftentimes will pop out, and you'll know when water's shooting out the side, you'll know that there's an issue. So we have all of this stuff in stock with the exception of the 1322, but we're not that deep. We have maybe like 50 people waiting, which will probably cover that on our next shipment. We have some of these in stock, not a lot, but we have some 1122s.
We actually have a lot of those.
Do we?
Yeah, we were very well stocked on the 1122s.
So we have 11. This is the first time in
3
years.
3
or 4 years. I've only had them in stock like maybe 3 times in the last, since I started doing this, and so the last 5 years. I've only had them. This is one of the 3 times. the ARs. I think we have those, right?
Yep.
We have the Karchers. We have this. These we don't have, but they'll be stocked very soon here.
Yeah, we have a few left over. I think we have like about 30 left from our initial shipment, so those are on the shelves. But we have another 120 coming, hopefully in a week or two.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't think we were going to fill all those orders.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were getting enough of them.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is a rare time. We have guns, wands, quick disconnects. We have everything in stock for the first time in ever.
For almost all of them too. And I think one of the big reasons is we made a shift where we are now housing everything at our own warehouse. We used to drop ship the Kranzle, we used to drop ship, the AR, and so now they're all in house, so we have much better control.
Yeah, and then it's a little easier for you to get them because you'll get a single tracking number, which we just have multiple packages.
Yep.
We ship it out way faster than the drop shippers are able to do, and hopefully box it a little better and take a little extra care of it. So that's important. But our next goal would be to build a service center so we can service our own, and then actually before that we'll be trying to get to Canada. So I want to get to Canada first with this distribution, have the same thing, have stuff stocked there. So, I mean, all you Canadians want this stuff, and you want to honor the source. I mean, there is no question. Forgive the arrogance here. I am 100% the source of all of this. 100% of all of it. Yeah. I've taken cues and detailing from other friends and other experts. This is me, 100%. Every single retailer that's selling this stuff, it's just they just copy, which there's nothing I can do about it, other than in the future I'm gonna if I ever improve upon something like this, then I'm gonna patent it, own it, protect it. A patent's not really super helpful because then the patent just teaches them how to steal it, gives them the formula sheet. So anyway, we have a couple of other things in the queue. There's another AR that Tommy found that's like this that we may that would be $300 or $400 less, that might be interesting. We're going to be testing out. We're in talks with Active to possibly make a Kranzle killer for less money. Make a serviceable five plunger pump that does 2.5 gallons a minute or something.
I'd be intrigued to see what that type of technology could do, and then like an actual industrial type pump. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, it's possible that we could be doing something like that in the future. I have a deionization system that we're about 80% of the way through. We're starting to prototype and test soon. So we're going to cause some serious disruption to deionization as well. I just thought it would be useful to talk to you about where we're at with pressure washing. It's the most organized, the most detailed, it's the closest to the vision I've had for what our pressure washing suite would look like. Years ago when I decided to do this thing. I never in my wildest dreams thought that we would sell as much as we have. We would have sold a lot more had the manufacturers been able to keep up with the demand. And obviously would have sold a lot more if I'd figured out a way if I would have known this would happen, I would have negotiated some sort of exclusivity on things, which how the heck, I had no clue. No clue that anyone would care about any of this stuff. But anyway, we are the experts in this stuff. If you do have questions, you can hit up support@obsessedgarage.com. They're answering 200 questions a day on what fitting, what orifice, what pressure washer, what do I need to do to fix this. We do not do phones. That's by design. Part of it is because I'm on YouTube and I'd have weird old dudes trying to call and talk with me all day and wasting everybody's time. But there's only, how many guys? Four guys that are on the team?
Yeah, 4.
There's only 4 of them. It takes us about a year to train them. And even then, every day they're getting questions they haven't encountered. So those are the only 4 guys on the planet that have those answers. And so I need to schedule that. We need to queue that. And so when you submit a ticket on obsessedgarage.com, go there and submit a support ticket. The more information you provide, the quicker, the less back and forth you'll have.
Pictures and video, please, always.
Yeah, the more pictures, the more video, the more help we can provide. A lot of times it's a simple solution. But remember, water under pressure is complicated. It always needs maintenance constantly. One day you can use your pressure washer, the next day the GFCI blows up or something. It's part of part of the game, part of the deal. And so, you know, we're looking for people to buy that aren't entitled or we're in this together. You know, I don't know you anything, you don't know me anything. We're in a relationship here. There's a give and take. And I'm going to continue to, you know, chase and try to find better, and maybe continue to chase and find better ways to protect my ideas. But
that's what's exciting for me, though, is the continual chase. Because, like, I bet you, like, every other person in market would have, like, this thought out and be like, okay, we're done now. But the fact that we're still chasing is what's really cool.
Yeah, you're just getting started.
Yeah.
Forget that. We're just getting started.
Yeah.
This is this I think is there's even more potential to improve. Part of the thing that really motivated me to have some of these entry-level solutions was to capture you know, generations of audiences, you know, and to grow with, you know, with the people that that are supporting us.
Yeah, and that's something we didn't really touch on either, though. Is like, say if you are a young guy in college or something, you can only afford a Karcher, but if you get the accessories, they'll travel as you upgrade your, you know, pressure washer. They can be used on all of them, and so that's what's nice about standardizing this type of thing. They all have the same type of fitting, so you can just transfer all your accessories. So.
Yep. Usually change your nozzle, you're good to go.
Exactly.
You know, you may have to swap a 15 millimeter if you have a Sunjoe or something, swap it over to a 14 millimeter fitting, but your hose should transfer. Your gun, your wand. Your gun is going to last, your gun and wand will last the longest. Your hose, depending on how abusive you are to it, you know, you may need a new hose every 5 or 6 years, just depends.
I do actually have a question I've always wanted to ask you. So, pressure washer industry puts a coupler on the outlet of the pressure washer. That's like the standard. What was that? Just happen chance that you put a plug on the outlet, or did you like make a decision? No, I want, you know, 2 couplers on the hose rather than a plug and a coupler on the hose.
The thing that made that decision is it was really hard to find a female plug. And then the thing that solidified the decision of a female plug. See, this is a female plug right here. For those of you who are watching, this is a so it's all plugs are male. All couplers are female, but then the thread. So this is a female fitting. And you need a lot of torque to keep it from leaking, and so this will split all the time. And so when we'd have these wands, and we had to really dial in precise, you know, torque, because you need a lot of torque so that it doesn't leak. But if you do too much torque, you'll split the fitting. And so to me, it made more sense to put the plug on the outlet of the pressure washer, and to put a coupler on the inlet to the hose, which again would, you know, theoretically be opposite of how most would do it. It's the opposite of how we do it here. But this is a much more sound fitting because it's M22 and it's M22. And then we don't need to do, because on the gun doing this male fitting is just much more stout. So those putting female plugs on the end of hoses just doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And two, taking it off of the pressure washer, if you like have a portable setup, like the coupler like pulls with the hose, where if you had it on the pressure washer and the hose is on this side, it'd be kind of weird.
And I started doing it mainly because it was really hard to find. No one was making because all the outlets of pressure washers are male, and so no one made a female coupler.
Gotcha.
You know, so I don't think anybody makes a female coupler now. Still,
a coupler on that thing? They do. I think they do.
An M22
coupler, yeah. I think that's what.
Still
but this is
uncommon.
all, you know, when cuties were first starting out, I guess. So
an M22 female plug was really common, really easy.
Yep.
And there was no need to tape the fitting. It had an O-ring. It was a really stout, really sound connection. And then, you know, to me, when you have we don't have one out here, but to have the stoutness of a female 3/8 and torque that down on a pressure washer hose, it's just so much more sound than it is for the female plug version. To do it that way. So that's why I made that choice. But most of the choices were done with what was available. Just trying to make adapters and adapting brass pieces, and then when, you know, I'd get like a MTM catalog and try to figure out, oh man, they have some stainless fittings. Maybe I can convert some of these to stainless. Even though you don't need it, the brass fittings turn green and just look ugly. You know, and the brass fittings generally, then there was a real advantage on the garden hose side where the brass fittings have half the amount of ball bearings, and so they just, there's some better quality to some of the stainless stuff. But they argued with me along the way. First, it was no quick disconnects, no quick disconnect. Then it was, well, why do you want stainless? Brass is fine. And then it was, who's going to buy a $50 coupler? Why do you need a swivel? Why do you need a smooth jacket hose? All these questions over the years. The one question that nobody ever questioned was, why does our frickin' foam cannon fall over? That's been a disaster from day one with the MTM foam cannon. It doesn't stand up. So that was a universal. Everybody wanted something better for that. I still think there's huge opportunity in foam cannon redesign at some point.
For sure.
Griot's Garage has one that has some potential, but still it's it's some Chinese junk. So there's some real potential there for some additions. But in general, I'm telling you, outside of these pressure washers,
don't buy it. Don't buy it.
You idiots buying that giraffe thing. You know why the giraffe has become popular? Because they're sending it to all these dorks. It's free. You know what I told them? I don't want it. I would pay you to not send me, and I could just take one look at it. You know exactly what it is. And it's a horrible hose on a horrible plastic assembly with the same frickin' pump as every other Your Greenworks and other.
If you needed something that was like the easiest to wall mount,
Comet. But the giraffe, man, it looks real promising. I'm telling you, there is no unicorn. The only unicorn is this.
Oh, that now.
Well, but that's not really a unicorn because it's $350.
Sure.
This was the original only unicorn, the Simon Eyes, which they only had in Canada for a long time, and then the Active. It's the only unicorn, and there is no other. Bosch, the Briggs and Stratton, all the same thing. They're all the same frickin' thing. There's nothing inside of the Sunjo catalog that's a unicorn. They're all the same. There's crap, crappy, and a little less crappy, but they're all junk. There's nothing out there. This is a pretty simple thing. You have water under pressure with either 3 or 5 plungers or triplex. And if you're doing triplex, then you're getting into a significant expense, or you're getting into into dedicated 30 amp territory, where you need something over and above what you have to plug into a wall. You could build a pressure washer to beat all of these. It can cost you $3 or $4 grand. You can do a full stainless head using like a cat pump or something like that. In electric, 4 gallons, 5 gallons, whatever you want, 8 gallons a minute. If you have 30 amps, you can do whatever you want. That's what pressure washer or car washers are using. But you're going to have to maintain it. You're going to have to know what you're doing. You're going to have to put it together.
That'd be seriously overkill too.
I've gone down that path, especially with some of my struggles over the years of Kranzle, hard to get, not listening to me. Letting everybody sell it, that kind of stuff. I've gone down the path of, trying to make my own, and it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat these guys. And so I think that again, the unicorn does not exist. It's possible we could make it, but it's going to cost millions and millions of dollars to do it. And even then, you're going to have a hard time beating, the ARs and the Kranzles have been doing this for 100 years. I didn't ask for any questions, did I? Sure.
Do we have a bunch?
Okay, so first one's from Obsessed Mobile Detailing. I'm looking to get a Kranzle KWS soon. I noticed Kranzle carries a KWS 1200. Can you give any info on it and why you would choose the KWS 700 instead?
So the 1200 is the 5 gallon per minute or 5 GPM version. It's 3-phase only. They don't do single phase, so that's the key. I'm telling you, we tried to do the KWS 1200 at John's Garage in Atlanta. We were going to do that. I thought it'd be really cool. Because when we put like a 10.0 nozzle on it, thing's probably getting like 6 gallons a minute. But it's too much. It's like the 3 gallons per minute. So I was trying to teach his son. His son was I think he's 12. And he could barely handle the kick of the 3 gallons per minute. Hard. I don't think you want any more, even as a pro. Even if you have 3-phase power, I just think that you're going to dislike the 5 gallons per minute. I think the professional version, the one to get, and if we're not going to build something custom, is the KWS 700. So I'm not going to have any one I want, and I have a 700 sitting over there. The other disadvantage of the 700, if you have the choice, you want to put it in a room somewhere so you don't have to hear it, because it's freaking loud as crap. It's like 82 dB, something like that at 10 feet. It's really, really loud and really annoying, and it doesn't turn off. So when you're cleaning wheels, it just turns off and you kick it back on and it keeps running. They do that for pump longevity. But the KWS 700, $3,500, you'll have that thing for the rest of your life. If you're a professional, service it every 6 months. I'd change the oil every 6 months. I'd change the seals every probably year and a half, depending on how good your water is. And you'll have that thing for the rest of your life. And you know, if you're making a living off of washing cars, I mean, it will change your whole user experience. Amazing foam. Foam's crazy. And you clean wheels quicker, you clean the car faster, because we're going to tune it with a 7.0 nozzle to do, around 1,000 PSI, 1,100 PSI, something like that, at, 3 gallons plus.
So Rita says, you guys should cover the Northern Tool pressure washers. They've got a 3,000 PSI at 4.0 GPM electric model. Have you ever looked at those?
Yeah, so Northern Tool is American Jank. I think they're made by Landa.
Then it makes there's more for the driveway guys, I think. The huge, just gigantic.
A lot of times some of the Northern Tools are General pumps. So this is a General brass pump head. They're just American Jank. It's American horsepower. That pressure washer needs 30 amps. It's probably 23, 24 amps, so it's 240 volts. To get over anything, this is the most you can get out of 20 amps, out of 110 volts. If you have that pressure washer, you've got to have a 220, or 240. You've got to have a 240, 20, 30, 40 amp circuit. So you've got to have some special considerations for that, and you can't just go plug that into a wall somewhere. It won't work. But they're janky. They're cheap, janky. I've headed down that path with Cat to custom make something like that, some monster. But I'm telling you, I bet you that thing probably, if we put it on our test, would probably do 2.5 gallons a minute. It would still do more. It's not going to do 3,000 PSI. I can pretty much promise you that. It'll probably do somewhere around 2,000, 1,800 to 2,000 PSI, which you don't want for washing your car. I think if you're going to head down that path, you would only do that if you're a car wash, like a coin-operated car wash, or if you are a professional pressure washer, like pressure washing driveways and stuff, and you need it electric. But even then, it's not going to be much quieter than a gas. That thing's probably going to operate at 80, 85 dB. So if you're going to do that, buy a frickin' gas. Because then you could realistically get 2,500 PSI at 3 gallons a minute. So for doing anything with cars, even if you're doing fleet washing, you don't want that much. You have a lot of risk. Blow something off the darn car. You don't want that much pressure.
So Ken C just finished installing his K1322 today, but with the foam cannon orifice with 1.25. The current is waving from 12 amps to 32 amps to 12 amps, and the pump just intermittently pumping and stopping. Any ideas?
Make sure that there isn't something in the orifice.
I was going to say, is it actually the 1.25? That's the first thing I would check, because if it's too small of an orifice, it'll overamp the machine, which could make it pulsate.
Yeah, or there's something even sometimes on pressure washers, I've had it happen where there's a piece of metal in the pump head, and it comes through and then gets stuck in the nozzle. So if you take the plug off of the foam cannon, you take this little 1/4-inch plug off. So you take this guy off, and then you look inside of there. It's a flat blade screwdriver. You flat blade off the little orifice nozzle inside of there, and look through it. And then make sure, it's possible, we generally don't make this mistake, but it's possible that there's a 1.1 millimeter orifice in there. You'll be able to see it if you can physically see it with your eyes. If you look at it, to take them out. It'll take you 2 minutes. These are, they're torqued on there pretty well, but these are easy. This is a 14 millimeter flat here, so 14 millimeter, and then I think this is a 17 millimeter.
How do you remember that? I can never remember that.
I put a freaking I built 1,000 of these things.
Did a video on that.
Yeah.
So you would back this off and then just go inside of there. And then if that doesn't work, there's a little pin right here. We just made a video on OG Shorts on how to change the filter. So you just get like a little pick tool or a little Allen key, push this pin out. This whole piece will come off, and check the filter, make sure everything's good. I mean, very rare, but it's possible. And this is what I'm saying, you got to work for it. Water under pressure. These are the kind of things that happen. Shoot, what did I do the other day? It was dripping out of the nozzle. I went and reseated and added some more tape to the nozzle. It's possible there was a little burr on one of the threads or something. So I would guess that if it's pulsating like that, that there's probably something that's gumming it up. So you want to check that out. The 1322 should pull somewhere around 17.5 amps. I've been running mine for over a decade at that 17 amps, even though it's technically outside the range. The robustness of the electronics of this can handle that 17 amps. But that 30 amps could be the inrush, if you had a really good fluke or something.
Sure.
But it should run, if you just hold the trigger, should run smooth, on a 1.25 millimeter nozzle in there, should run, somewhere around 17 amps.
Also make sure the unloader's turned all the way up.
So this thing here, the red knob, so the red knob should be turned all the way in, so clockwise. If it's out, so you should never mess with this darn unloader. It should be turned clockwise all the way in and just left alone.
What is the recommended size for the Active 2.0 nozzle size?
I like 5.0. 4.0 is what it comes with, a 4.3 or something like that?
It comes with a 4.0. Pretty sure. Yeah.
Somebody was saying, I saw someone posted a video or something that said it was a 4 point something else in
Interesting.
there.
Okay.
It's published 4.0. I think it comes with a 4.3 or something like that, or 3.8 or something like that. And we run it with a 5.0.
That one comes with a 3.8.
Yeah.
So but it's a personal preference, really.
Yeah, I run it with a 4.0 or 5.0.
And that's what comes in our packages too, is the 5.0.
Yeah.
And everyone keeps saying that you need to review the Chemical Guys pressure washer.
we should
Let me see a picture of it. What is it? Let me see.
It's really bad.
I'll tell you exactly what it is.
Is it worse than that Adams one that tried to copy the kid?
They decided to put 4 wheels on it so you can wheel it around the car.
Oh no.
Chemical Guys pressure washer. Oh boy.
We think it's a rebranded Active.
That's funny.
The PM 2000. Get out of here. I don't want to join the family. Pro Flow Performance Electric Pressure Washer. 2030 PSI, 1.77 GPM. Why would you want 4 wheels on it? I guess
because you only have a 25-foot hose, so you need to drag it around.
Yeah. They're freaking idiots. Look at that hose. It's like a plastic. One of those. It's one of the hoses like the Ryobis that's plastic that kinks.
Yeah.
Like, how the heck could a pressure washer hose kink? It should have wires in it. Oh yeah. It has a 15 millimeter adapter. Oh yeah, 1305 working PSI and 1.06 working GPM.
Well, hey, at least they published the actually what it does.
They don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Freaking idiots. Oh, it comes with a 65-degree nozzle. What's better than a 40-degree nozzle? 65.
65.
That's a selling feature. 5 tips is better than 4. You only need 1, people. 40 degrees. Maybe 25.
Yeah. I actually have been messing around with the 25, and I actually like it for rinsing soap off. I feel like I can blast off the soap a little easier.
This is how I feel about selling coffee on Destination OG. The only reason I'm experimenting, I have a feeling this is going to backfire on me big time. I was talking to my friend Dave Plotz yesterday about this. I said, these guys, Mike T and Bryce, and everybody talked me into it. I called and talked to the guy who's like the OG of coffee, right? He's an OG follower, but his thing, like pressure washers are for me, that's what coffee is for him.
Yeah.
I need coffee machines in Destination OG properties. I was just going to buy, what's that Breville? I was just going to buy a nice Breville or something, right? And so, which is like, you know, blaspheming to like a coffee dork. So I talked to him on the phone, and I was like, I did full me. And I said, look, I don't give a rat's crap about any of this. I think it's freaking stupid. I think all of you people drinking this are weak. And he still didn't, it didn't turn, he just laughed. He said, look, Matt, I'm the you of this. I said, okay, I don't want this, but I know that I need this, you know, and I would like to, if I'm going to do this, I'd like to do it OG spec. Sure. And so, but if I'm going to do this, I'm going to teach everybody about it, and I'd like to be able to frickin' make some money off of it. And so I don't know if this is going to be my jump the shark moment, or if this is going to work, but I'm going to be super candid with you. I think all you frickin' people drinking that black water are weak, stupid, and makes no sense to me. But if we're going to do it, let's do it right. I'm not drinking that crap.
Wait till you see the machine. You'll appreciate it.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
What? Matt's gonna be a barista.
I have a feeling I have a feeling that machine's gonna be. I'm gonna want a better one.
I mean, that is one of the better ones out there. Like,
I don't like one of the better ones. I want the better one.
The next step up is full commercial grade, but they need servicing like once a month. So that's the only problem.
Yeah, I don't want that. What other questions we got?
Another person said, recently purchased a Kranzle K10S. Still can't believe how quiet and smooth it is. I'm from the UK. So do you want to talk about what the difference between pressure washer?
So the beauty of Europeans is that you have more voltage, right? So you can get 2.5 gallons a minute out of your outlet, out of the wall, very easily. So the HD10, the HD7, fantastic. I wish we had those. The HD7 is basically the 1322, but with more output because it has 240 or 200 and whatever they got, 240 volts and 50 hertz, and that weird plug on the wall. They've got more available voltage in order to help with less current draw, and so right out of the wall they can get more output. So 2.5 gallon per minute machines are capable off of like normal wall outlet power in Germany, UK, and
pretty much everywhere else in the world, pretty much. Yeah.
Then we got a bunch of people talking about garden hose QDs. So are there better ones out there? The few mentioned are Gardena and Ely.
So the Ely ones are giant and heavy. Those are the original ones I bought because I couldn't get these Gilmore ones. Gardena, I think, is just another Chinese knockoff. I think they're the same, pretty much from the same place. I have to look up the Gardena ones. I'm not sure, but the Elys are beautiful, fantastically machined, but they're like. It's a brick. And so if you have it on the end of the hose, and actually, they've made some improvements to them, but the only one I've ever had fail was an Ely. And I had gotten them like with my hose reel, they came like in the thing, and so they're too big, too bulky. And that's why I don't love them.
The only other ones, I would say they probably are higher quality, but again they're bulkier than this, is the Prevost ones that we sell. Yeah,
but they're not stainless. They're chrome plated. They're zinc, zinc and chrome plated, which I don't love. The advantage of and MTM has this too, which we don't really need to do anymore because most people aren't disconnecting, is the MTM has this as well, but you can, where it's a shut off. There's a bladder in there that shuts off. And so Prevost, we have the Prevost where when you disconnect it, you can leave the water on and it'll shut off the water, if you will. What's this Gardena business? Let me see, Gardena, garden hose.
Tommy, do you want to quickly tell the people when 1322s might be back in stock?
I do not have an ETA, unfortunately. We have the order placed, so we're just waiting on, Kranzle USA to get their containers in. But it's been, almost a month now, I think, since we got our last container, so it's probably due, I would say, late October, early November, if I just had to guess. Don't quote me on that, please. Don't send an email to support, but they should be here, hopefully.
Gardena is Amazon junk. Yeah, I can tell just by looking at it. Nope.
Have you guys tested using 1/4 inch instead of 3/8 QDs on the hose and gun?
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. 1/4 inch hose, 3/8 inch hose, no pressure difference.
Is there a reason why you like the 3/8 over the 1/4 inch in terms of diameter of the hose?
There is no 1/4 inch hose. No one makes them.
Sure, but they're only that type. Yeah, there's no smooth jacket. Okay, that's fair.
Nobody makes even then you can't you can only get like a cheap plastic one. Like these you can't even really buy, you know.
Yeah, and they're hard to get.
Yeah. So I've went down that path. I'm like, well, I'd love to get rid of the weight and the bulk, but nobody makes a 1/4 inch hose. So it's something I would like to tackle at some point.
I'm gonna look into that. I'm gonna see.
And Mosmatic has one, their lightweight hose, but I don't love it. It has a lot more memory than like than a smooth jacket single wire hose.
Gotcha.
So they're saying Gardena is a German company. It's a subsidiary of Husqvarna.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks like Amazon crap to me. They have plastic ones, I see, but the other ones, I don't know, maybe we'll have to try them. They look cheap.
What do you think of induction motors compared to universal motors? Do they really make a difference?
Well, the problem with induction motors in pressure washing is you have the ramp up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know, you have ramp up, so you don't really want the induction. So induction doesn't have brushes, so it's brushless.
Yeah.
But the brushes on most of these aren't an issue. So the pump on these like cheap ones that have an induction motor, the pump is going to fail before the electric motor will fail. Yeah. So almost all of them have a horrible, annoying ramp up time. They also have a tough time. The induction versions have a tough time with flow. They can produce lots of pressure, but for whatever reason, I had it explained to me at one point, but the flow is an issue with the induction type. So it's just not. It's not like Milwaukee Fuel versus regular Milwaukee brushed version where the fuel was so much better. They generally speaking are clunky.
Yeah. The biggest thing is the ramp up though.
I also remember during testing, the biggest one was the amperage would stay consistent no matter which nozzle you use, as long as you didn't drop it too low. Yeah,
that was an interesting thing. I don't know why it would do that, but you're right.
Shaz wants to know, what is the proper way to turn off the 1322? The instruction manual says press the trigger to release the water, turn off water, and run the machine dry for 30 seconds, then shut it off. Is that right?
I don't do that. What I do is turn it off. I turn the water off, turn the thing off, and then just pull the trigger and disconnect. Yeah. You would only really do that, leave it running, as if you're in a colder climate. You want to try to get as much water as possible out. And if you were going to do that, if you were in a really cold climate, you're going to winterize it, you'd run some antifreeze through it.
Yeah, just put it in a bucket and just cycle it through.
Pull it through.
Yeah.
But you don't. I don't do that. I just, depending on how lazy I am, it doesn't really hurt the pump to pull it and let it run dry. But generally, what I do is turn the water off, turn the pump off, so hit the switch on top, then pull the trigger, let the little bit of pressure and water come out. Then I take the gun, I take the wand off, I dump the water, I take the gun, pull the trigger, and I dump the water. And then whatever little bit is left in the pump. I feel like it's better to let to leave the water in the pump than it is to run the pump, in bypass mode.
Yeah, and that's especially true, I would say, for like the less expensive, like these guys. Like you definitely don't want to run these dry at all. The AR and the Kranzles, they can handle running dry a lot better.
Yeah, and running dry doesn't really hurt in short spurts. It's the heat that creates the problem. So if you had it sitting there running or idling with no water in it, because water is what cools them. There's no, there's no like a radiator on these things. The water is what cools the thing. Keeps the oil cool.
All right, last one. Any update on the vacuum solution? I'm tired of my rigid.
Ooh, yeah.
So the Flex is awesome, even more. So the more I spend time, now that I made the decision on the Flex is great. I'm sure the Festols, there's some great Festols as well.
We just gonna get them.
So what I'm coming out with, there's a manufacturer that makes really amazing vacuums. That Tommy's working on this with him. He's working on our prototype. It's going to be, I believe, a 3-horse.
Around there, yeah.
Or maybe it's a 3-gallon.
Yeah, it's a smaller tank, but the horsepower is, the ratings for vacuums are all over the place, but it's around that power. Yeah,
it's like a 3-gallon, 3-horse, wall mountable. We're going to have full either hose reel or high-to-hose solutions. We've got some really cool potential for some cool accessories and handles. So there's some neat options that we have there. We're also going to have a solution where you can add on a larger tank if you were doing like a whole home solution, or if you're a professional detailer and you need more, more storage. I mean, fill up a 3-gallon tank would take you weeks, even if you're in a professional environment.
Yeah, if you're in a professional environment. If it's just yourself in your garage and you're vacuuming your cars, there's not that much dirt. But if you connect it to your house, you'll definitely want a bigger tank.
I mean, we're talking about, something like the vacuum's going to be probably around the Flex, if not less. The pricing's going to be great. The margins are going to be great for me, which is nice. It's going to be a co-branded but private labeled version, and it's made by one of the best vacuum makers on the planet. I'm excited. I'm proposing. I haven't even used it yet, so I don't know if I'm even going to like it.
Who knows? Yeah.
It'll operate, I think, with 62 decibels.
That's the big thing. Is it's so quiet.
Yeah. There's a potential that if I fight hard enough that we could do, like they have a 58 dB, 57 dB version. There's also a potential exhaust that can remove a dB or 2 of sound. And so we're going to test accessories, we're going to test hoses, we're going to test the machine. We're going to put one here on the with the hose reel. We're going to put one at my house with the hide-a-hose solution, and we're going to test it out and then probably launch, I would hope, later this year. So we're not that far away. So the Flex would be our main vacuum for regular portability. I'm telling you, I know people think, oh, my rigid blah 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 sucks real good. The Flex is a really great vacuum, much better, and it's great on Swiss tracks. The accessories, the Flex has the best accessories of any vacuum I've ever seen. So we're going to try. The accessories are the real difficulty. There's only like 2 companies that make them in the whole freaking world.
They're all the same.
It's just like sprayers. There's like 3 companies that make all the sprayers, and they don't think anybody would pay a bunch of money for a nice accessory. So I've partnered with I think he's 40 years into the business.
Yeah, he's been there a while.
So Grant is 40 years into this, and so we've been looking for the right expert, and I think we found him.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're going to be willing to help us, create something that's very specific for cars and garages. They could also work for whole home solutions as well.
Yeah.
So I would say, so we already have pricing, we have the spreadsheets, now the prototypes he'll start sending us, and then once we get the prototypes installed and tested out, then we'll launch. We'll take pre-orders, and they'll be able to produce them pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
When we start, we're going to drop ship them, and then we'll probably stock them in the future.
Yep.
So
vacuums I'm excited about because no one's figured that out yet. That's going to be awesome because everyone is just going to Home Depot and buying a rigid right now.
This time, I'm not going to let it happen like with this.
Yeah,
and Grant will protect us.
Yeah, he seems like
So what we're going to do is we're going to wholesale them. So if all the copiers want to copy, then then if they want the same brand, then we'll wholesale them through Curated.
Yep. Is that everything?
You want one more? It's a foam cannon one.
Sure.
All right. So the MTM PF22 needs a wide mouth opening and a thicker plastic bottle. Will OG be making any custom foam cannons in the future, or what do you want to see in the next one?
Yeah, I want to see complete redesign. I would like to see a quick disconnect. So our quick disconnect that Rusty makes for us is really cool. It adds a little weirdness to the neck. I think you'd want a wide opening. So we'd want a wide opening at the top, like the Griot's bottle, or some of the other knockoffs of the Griots. I would want. Jamie and I actually drew up a design where it has like a pistol grip, like a hand grip on it, on the bottle. And so we have some concepts of what it would look like, and we would counterweight it so that it didn't need to have a super wide bottle, but the way that we'd build the pistol grip on it, it would counterweight and stand up appropriately. But I would want the ability to quick disconnect the bottle off and on. So someday we'll tackle that. We chose to do the gun first. And at some point we'll do a foam cannon. Either I'll make it myself, or we'll have partner with MTM or Mosmatic and do it that way.
Yeah, because this design has been, I don't know how many years, but it's been a while since someone's changed the game.
Yeah, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
I think once we start having international distribution, then my companies that I'm working with will be willing to give me exclusivity more.
Definitely, yeah.
So we've got to get to Canada, and once we get Canada figured out, then the other countries will turn on much quicker.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's, I mean, I don't personally deal with that, but I guess that's like Chris and Brad, like all that international paperwork and laws and regulations that we have to figure out.
Yeah, and
It's
then
a
the money you need to buy all the inventory for up there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
need to hire people, you need to deal with, employment laws in a place that I don't understand and I've never even been. So that's a little dicey.
Yeah.
But there's probably a bunch of Canadians watching right now that would love to buy from us.
Yeah, definitely.
Not having to get hosed from all the import duties and taxes. We can cut all that out, ship things direct from, like bring Mosmatic right from, container right from, Switzerland right to.
Canada, yeah.
Bring our actives right from, actives already come into Canada. And Tool Grid is made in is brought in Canada already, and they're shipping to the U.S. So there's a lot of costs that we can cut out for Canadians. Kranzle, we'll bring Kranzle direct.
Yep.
It'll be awesome.
All right. Nice.
Cool. Happy Friday, everybody. We'll see you next week, probably on a normal podcast, I think. I think I'm here next week. Yeah, it's the following week I'm going back to Helen.
Cool.
But M2 giveaways in full swing. Keep buying tchotchkes. Help me do it again. There's another car that might be sitting here that could be our next giveaway, I think. And then I still think I need to do an NSX, later next year. I'd love to do that.
NSX, yes.
That would be the next giveaway. But yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. Buy all the pressure washing stuff. Hit us up, support@obsessgarage.com. If you need some help, you can always email me if you want. But generally, Chris will intercept that, forward it to support. We have the answers to your questions on this stuff. I can confidently say that at this point. I don't know that I believe that early on because it's taken us a long time to get here, but we've seen them all, touched them all, and done more testing than anybody else. And all the tests you see, I made that up too. Even the tests.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna do a test, do a better test. Get some. Like I actually spent, I think it was $1,000 on a flow meter that never really worked. I had
So that's how you just did the bucket.
some guy make it, and I eventually just threw it away because it didn't work. It couldn't adapt it. I've done all kinds of stuff to everything short of building a bench. We've done real world things that I think matter from a testing perspective. So
Yeah, definitely.
so we know what's good and what's not. I think if you're buying any of these, if you're not, again, I think that if you're on the entry level, you're buying an active, you're buying this thing. If you're on the high end, I'm buying a Kranzle 100% of the
Yeah,
time.
and just pick whatever pressure washer's here for your budget, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, and luckily in the pressure washing world, there hasn't been anything I've wanted that I couldn't get. It just took me a while to get it.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're selling these because this is what we could sell. We're selling these because these are the best. So see you soon. Thanks for watching.